How's everybody doing there? I am Tomlin's Nyback. This is day 340, 365 days towards racial change. Glad to be with you again. We are in the home stretch of the home stretch. By golly, we're going to get this thing done. I really feel motivated. I think my a few months of academia, the stress of the virus has given me a lot of momentum to finish strong. This is day 340 we're working on, and we're here talking about Black issues in America. Lately we've kind of been on the socioeconomic track, getting back heavily into Dr. Claud Anderson's material. It's all appropriate. We got plenty of resources from which to draw. So much of the bottom line is like the challenges to Black Americans. Boy, it has so many roots in economics. I mean, our ancestors are transported here under economic reasons, motivations. You know, um, if you look at how this nation deliberated, when we look at James Madison's notes, and when um, Black people were the topic of debate and discussion, it was under economic concerns that Black people appeared. You don't see anywhere in the Constitution or James Madison's notes where um, white people have economic consideration of how they're going to operate and all that. They were going to be owners and managers in the system. But Black people were always that special kind of commodity that needed some attention in all of that. Oh, you look further down the road, every time there's any movement, debate, consideration, progress with Black people, there's always a dollar amount lurking around that whole debate to some degree. You know, check your history, whether it's the school system, blase. With the schools, it was, you know, um, the leadership, Black leadership especially, with the school system. A lot of the resources were going to white schools, making white schools better, and all that. And the the focus was rightly aimed at getting resources to enrich and build up Black schools and Black neighborhoods and all that. But oh boy, through a lot of creative ways and means, that got overturned, and it became integration and all that. Integration it's really the bane of Dr. Anderson's message. I understand it pretty clearly. I know some people have a issue with it. I mean, it looks good on the surface, but it's like I had this experience with my father long time ago, where we had eaten out one night, got some sandwiches at a little mom and pop sandwich shop in our hometown, in my hometown anyway. And it was just tasty. It was good, and I said out loud, I said, "Man, I could eat these every night." And my father's response, he was a little irritated. He said, he I forget what he said exactly, but it was something like, those people won't feed you every night, and It's not possible. He was very irritated that I had um, kind of made a disapproving statement about what we ate at home every night. You know, the food was good and I was excited about it. You know, I was about 5, 6 years old. But my father was like that. That's a whole nother story. The problem was like, you know, this correlates with just the school system. We can look at this as a foil for a whole lot of other examples of how black people did not secure, make their space better, demand better from their space. If the government had these resources for that community, well, then the government should have the same resources for black communities. You know, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Black people, especially on this school issue, is you know, the grass is greener over there. They got it better. It's better over there. You know, totally dismissing and um, you know, handicapping themselves, right? Instead of saying that this benefit is over here and it's supposed to be distributed equally, then let's have that. Let's go for equal distribution, not throw all our weight over there on the other side. You know, the money could be used to build better black schools, get books for black people, you know, better wages for the teachers. School infrastructure can be better maintained. All the things of the white community had. So that's just, you know, um, schools, right? But keep coming further and further. And you see black people with this tendency to see their future, their security always on the other side and not having it for themselves. Now that there's could be a lot of good reasons for that. You just think about what slavery was. Now that this is uh, project is wrapping up, I'm starting to see some of the fundamental problems. Is that you know if you have the slaves sequestered and marginalized in a certain segment of the system, it's not like the slaves um, were part of government and ran for president, owned big businesses, employed white people. You know, the things um, outside of the plantation that went on. But the slave was forced and confined into that microcosm of business. They were just um, the engine that gathered and got resources, right? They were just implements on that farm or plantation and not participants in the system, right? So, you know, and that has created this culture, so to speak, of people. I'm speaking generalities here. People who may not overall be equipped um, to really grasp what it's like, right? Because we can notice, you know, our white counterparts can be laborers and managers, owners, um, politics, professionals, white collar, labor, and the power group can move and flow in the system because from the beginning of this nation, that's how it's been. That's the privilege that is very much a part of what it means to to be a part of the power group, right? Um, but the black folks have always been, we find resistance, we find barriers and stuff like that. Unless we like entertain the power group, our potential for success, upward mobility is stifled incredibly, and that's something. It's something we're not showing. Now, listen, I'm in my 50s. I gotta admit, I don't have kids, so I don't know what the younger people are getting nowadays. But I know, like, the black community just was not about what I've been talking to you for 340 episodes. Not my black community, but these are the issues and problems that, boy, could have, with a little bit of knowledge, could have really altered my life, right? I'll own my portion. I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of poor decisions, and it's a big issue, but that this conversation, this kind of talk and education was not prevalent. I believe it was supposed to be prevalent, apparent in my family. My family descends from slaves. And it's interesting, like, we don't talk about it. We don't, and there's a lot of reasons. So we're going to talk about meritorious manumission. We got to go over that again, obviously. We got to keep some of these things fresh, some of the issues that keep black people as a community frozen. Um, we're running on autopilot from some of the centuries old um, devices employed against the black community to keep the black community sequestered, do its own policing, its own confinement, right? I went, just personally. I know I went through a period of life with my drugs and alcohol where, boy, it's like I couldn't stand to have a good life. It was it was wrong to have good stuff and to be doing well. It almost felt like a crime, you know. And it's a mental thing. Some of that is from the slave culture, the slave mentality, the industry that's still very much alive here in America, 2020. We're here now. Hindsight's 2020. I'm inspired to do this work by great work that a man uh, knows a lot more about this than I do. Has a lot of answers. Dr. Claud Anderson. I want you to get these books. Read some of these books. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice. We are in this text today on Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. Behind me, you'll see the hashtag #US2 symbol. You'll find black women supporting one another and voicing their concerns. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of black Facebook experience. If you can't find your flavor here on the World Wide Web, do what I did. Start your own little channel and see where it goes. If nothing else, release yourself, unburden yourself. If you got a business, an entrepreneurial mind, go holler at Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com. And there's another guy I've been mentioning, Tyrone Gregory, the self-employed tax guy, help you with your tax needs if you're if you got some things going on. So today's, in our last few minutes here, talk about some of Dr. Anderson's plans about leveling the playing field. That's page 43 in Black Labor, White Wealth. And some of the, a little side note, I mentioned a few episodes back about episode 199 being up. Apparently, and I was not notified, Google released it because there were just some challenging topics on there. It's a totally innocent, benign video, but some of the titling and tags threw up all kinds of red flags, and they released it. But the problem is I didn't know they did that, so I did another episode 199 on the same topic. So you get 2 for 1 on day 199. Go check it out if you haven't already. All right. Leveling the playing field. Some of this stuff is kind of common sense. You see it employed by the power group and other groups. So, you'll hear me talk about, and Dr. Anderson's work talk about, the success other groups have, in their own community, Arabs, Jews, Jewish people, Italians, Latinos, and all. Every ethnic group is successful because they employ a very, very few elements, but they employ them very effectively. It's to have a strategy, have a plan, to have group accountability, and all that. These things come easy to those groups. They don't have to wave big flags and banners and all that. It's just they look out for their own. Now, part of that is they're not recovering from the devastation of centuries of slavery, American slavery specifically. I don't think any of those groups may be known for fighting and their warfare and, things like that, but never collectively being conditioned as totally expendable cannon fodder in someone else's system. Like American black folks have to navigate that successfully. Now, the problem is all those things I talked about success as a group, strategy, planning, group accountability, organization, and things like that are challenging for the black community because slavery, through a lot of various means, meritorious manumission is a big one of those, has stunted that kind of growth. I grew up in a woodsy town and a lot of pine trees and stuff like that. And so in town, the pine trees are healthy, had access to a lot of water and all that. But you had this area called Pine Barrens or Scrub Pine area. And these are the pines that had no access to water. They were very vulnerable to fire and things like that. And because of that, they were stunted. They hung down close to the ground. There wasn't a space for tall trees to be growing up because they were not nourished and nurtured in the sandy soil. The same thing for black folks. Our roots being nurtured, controlled, pruned, stunted in a system that exercised absolute coercion and manipulation on the individuals. You know, you don't you don't just flip a switch and recover from that. It's going to take some time. It's going to take just as much effort that went into keeping the slaves sequestered and positioned with the most minimal effort. That kind of centuries old conditioning doesn't come off all that quickly. It's going to take probably just as much um, conditioning and community organization to turn that around. I've never really seen. I don't think history gives us any example of that kind of concerted effort happening um, in the Black community. The other communities don't have to do it. They didn't deal with it in that way, and the the American slaves never went through that. We just keep almost like following a carrot, keep reaching out for the wealth, rights, and privileges exercised by the white power group. You know, very wrong. And be careful. Like you say, well, maybe the Haitians and the Brazilians. Look at them. They overcame and all that stuff. But they did it by violence. They exercised revolts and revolutions and things like that. They empowered themselves to do that. The American Black folks, still waited until the power group had its meetings and bureaucracy, and then they let us be free. That's a lot different from Haiti and Brazil and the other country. Take Israel, right? They were slaves, but they came out by force. They took their country by force. No, I'm not advocating any violence. That's not going to get us what we want. It would never have gotten us what we're really after. I think maybe something Dr. Anderson could look at, or maybe myself, is to get outside the system. To our problem may need a kind of an existential move, right? Because working within the American bureaucracy will never get us, um, an eruption or explosion of what Black people could really be in the world, competing equally, intelligently, sober with the power group. But what I mean by existential move is to get outside of this nation's um, ethics and bureaucracy and look from a standpoint outside of the system, and then from that space begin to operate. But from within the confines of the American socioeconomic thought, we're just not going to get there. I don't think. Um, so leveling the field is, well, we got potential. We can look at the other groups, how they operate, and will be the great models for us to follow. The problem is that I've showed this before, like here's Black folks and here's white folks. White folks are kind of over top of this thing, and Black people are working within. The thing is, like, as Black folk try to, get some effort and make some move, the power group is growing exponentially as a result of our effort, right? It's not even a 1-to-1 ratio. It's it's an exponential move that as Black people approach equality, participation, competition in the system, the white folks in the power group just they take that energy and grow exponentially. You know, so there's any kind of leveling is from the power group allowing that to happen. Black folks are going to need to have some enthusiasm, right? You know, I've been away from drugs and alcohol for a minute now, and I think one of my missing elements is to have some emotion, to have some um, uh, some enthusiasm as an ingredient of being clean and sober. It was a complaint. The um, Kansas City Chiefs, right, won a Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes, when he initially came to the club, that there was a complaint that he had low energy. He didn't have the enthusiasm, and the team. I mean, the team. It's sports, so there's people are feeding off each other's energy, and the team complained that the quarterback didn't have enthusiasm, that didn't have the energy, and so Pat Mahomes, that great skills probably didn't change, but it's the authority, the command, and he had to work mentally to show some energy and some enthusiasm. Boom! Then later on, they get a Super Bowl. That's an important thing to learn, right there. Another thing, we got to look at our vision, reflect on the past. Like I said, my people, the family unit did not do that. We got excited when Roots came out, but that just had its little parabola and died away. Reflecting on the present, being sober in the present, and anticipating how we're going to participate in the future is another field leveling activity. We've got to make different choices, enact a national plan, come together, unify, and all that. Um, Revisit holidays and celebrations. This is my little boy. It'd be nice if I saw Black people have a real live national kind of Cinco de Mayo or a national kind of Yom Kippur or, you know, even a national kind of Ramadan, you know, not Christmas and all the commercial holidays, but some of these holidays that our brothers and sisters are Arab, Muslim, Jewish, um, our Latino, Hispanic brothers and sisters have some great celebrations, and um, Black people we're just along, just the odd man out in the celebrations when they happen. It'd be nice to see a nice, good Black national collective thing that other groups got, followed us in, and not the other way around. MLK Day it's too everybody crowded in. I don't even think Black people ever got a real hold on that and owned it for themselves and ourselves, before everybody else comes trotting on in. Us Black folks. Oh, us Black folks. The world would be less without Black folks. And the world knows that. Have no rhythm without Black people. Our youth are vulnerable. and all that. Listen, we know the answers to leveling the field um, and whatnot, but we've got to take hold and start being consistently successful. You know, we have a hand in incarceration rates. We have um, a responsibility in low wages, socioeconomic pressure, things like that. We've got to gather, slow down, get our resources together. You know, have the long view about things. Those are some of the things. You know how to level the playing field. Just look at your personal life. Whatever excess is dragging you down, you need to stop that. Well, that's what the black people need to do as a community. Um, and then when that happens, whatever exterior pressures are troubling us will shine brighter, um, and can be addressed uh, more effectively. I'm Tom Nyback. 365 days towards racial change. Day number 340 out of the way. You come see us next time. I'll be looking for you. Bye bye.